Alright, so today is finally the day to start working on something I've been dreading, which is porting the intake manifold on this. I'm really just doing a lot of work to the lower. I'm not really going to mess with the upper all too much, but I have to clean it up a bit, and I'm not a machine shop. I'm not a CNC machine. I'm not a professional porter. I have ported some stuff in the past. It is not going to be 100% the greatest, so keep the comments to yourself. But I'm going to do what I think is going to work just to get the lower intake gasket matched to the heads. I'm going to trace the gasket onto both the head and onto the intake manifold, and then just kind of do some guess and check, port at a time. Once I get it all matched, then I'll start working. Once I get all the ports matched to the head, then I'll start worrying about everything else and cleaning it up and the transitions and blah blah blah. But that's what's next. So this is just on here. I'm going to pull the thermostat housing off. I guess I really don't need to, but I'm going to put the gaskets on it. Tape those in place so hopefully they don't move much. Bolt it down so it sinks. And then I'm going to trace the intake onto the gasket on both sides with a silver Sharpie. And then when I take it off, I will transfer the gasket mark onto the intake manifold. And then I'm going to use that to do my gasket matching. And I'm going to be a little conservative at first to see if it's accurate. And then we'll go hog wild. Really excited to use my top of the line, #1 rated electric die grinder. That's right, Chicago Electric Power Tools, baby. Doesn't get any better than Harbor Freight. We got most of the crew here today. Where's everyone? There it is. Hey Dan.
What's up?
Hey Tony.
Hello.
So we are porting the intake manifold, and you know, we've had this covered in tape since I put it together. And I just forgot how race car it looks with link bar lifters versus the stock stuff. Big intake ports. I mean, just for comparison's sake. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll check that one out. Now, the intake port is very similar to the head port as far as size goes. So that's why there's not going to be a whole lot of work necessary on this end. However, on this side, look at those baby guys. So there's a lot of growth to be had. But we're going to start measuring up some stuff and going from there. All right. So I think these are 4 copies. Oh yeah. I mean, that's the intake gaskets I'm going to use. I know. So. Gotta come forward. I think that's where we're going to be. Now I'm going to bolt that one. I wish this was being bolted on for good right now. That'd be really nice. But I know this is one of about 100 times that we're about to bolt this intake on. So it's definitely going to get at the top.
So what are we doing here?
So I'm just tracing the gasket onto the intake manifold, so when I pull it off, I have a reference to line it up with. I'm hoping then this gives me a good idea of where it sits. It looks like it's sitting nice and level. I don't see any overlap. in any of the valves, so I think the gasket stayed in one spot. Alright, so we transposed the intake gasket from the head onto the intake, and it looks like we're not really going to do a whole lot of here. We're probably going to straighten it up a little bit, maybe round this corner out, but I really don't want to touch that. I might even hand file that to get it there. But on all of them, it's pretty consistent where all the size is going to come into play. So, I'm going to start with this, see how it turns out. I'm a little anxious. I haven't poured it in a while, but I'm not a professional. And fortunately for me, this is not a naturally aspirated deal, because this baby right here, she don't give a shit what size the port is. So we're doing this clearly for really just a smooth transition. We don't want it to hit a big gap. So I'm going to start working on it. We're going to get the porting set up and try to get this side done in the next hour. Alright, so I got my porting table set up. It's about as sloppy as I can get. Although it is backlit. So I'm not really going to do much to this side. I could see some imperfections that I'll sand out. But for the most part, we're going to remove all the material from here and there. So I'm going to do this first port. This one looks like it's the easiest. It's pretty much straight. Everything else has curves to it. This one's pretty much straight. Pretty curved. This one's got a curve in it, so we got to kind of be mindful of that. But rocking and rolling. Alright, I'm taking a short break to let the tool cool down. The tool cool down. But here's the progress so far. Nothing spectacular, but there it goes. Some level 2 gasket matching. Dan and Big Tone are working on getting the radiator situated. They got it mocked up so it sits in there. Now they're figuring out a way to mount it so it doesn't move on the base.
Yeah, just think about mounting this to the bottom of the radiator to provide one, a little cushion going over bumps and shit so it's not solid mounted, and then two, to hopefully prevent from sliding backwards in the course.
Because we're gonna cram it down.
Use this top stock mount still, so that'll be nice to hold it in, but then we tilt it in order so the fan will clear the idler tensioner.
So you're pretty much going to cram it down on top of those things and hopefully it holds.
Yep. And then we might use L brackets to hold it so it doesn't slide back into the pulley system.
Sweet. So I'm going to keep porting. They're going to get the radiator mounted and bring you some more progress when there is more. Alright. Dan and Big Tone putting in work.
A little bit.
The Cobra finally has a radiator. Factory radiator. We just gave it that lean. We tucked the bottom into the core support. And now the intercooler is also mounted. And for the first time ever in this car's history, it's level. It's always constantly been crooked, although this is probably going to hit the bumper, which is why it's always been crooked. But we're going to make that work. Now we got to get a bunch of intercooler piping. We have a bunch from the kit prior. So we're going to try to piece it together in combination with the power pipe. Try to make it work.
See what we can do.
But it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of looking like we might end up ordering a universal intercooler kit to get some miscellaneous pieces to put it all together. And then I'll probably just take all the pieces individually and go get them repowder coated again because blue doesn't really fit the color scheme anymore anyway. So, but the intake is ported halfway. Still gotta do one side. I'm gonna check the alignment on this side. Already opened all the top. Really doesn't need a whole lot of work. It had ridges in it, so we just took the ridges out of every one. And then we gasket matched to the heads. But if you mic this size versus the port on the head, they're damn near the same. So they really just make it smaller to fit a factory head, and they give you the meat to open it up. So that's what we did. But we will bring you guys more updates once we get the intake manifold ported on both ways. We're gonna bolt it on now, and I'll show you that. Alright, so Dan cleaned the garage, so thank you, Dan, for cleaning the garage. The bench specifically, look at all this room we got. But we have finished, for the most part, porting the intake manifold, and I'm gonna just show you guys that really quickly, and then we're gonna go pick up another car that will be a separate video. But just to show you guys how the porting turned out. Once again, not a professional, really just wanted to do some good gasket matching and get rid of some flaws. So this was cast with, they had like a ridge on the inside of each one, on the upper and the lower, so we kind of did the same treatment. It hasn't been totally cleaned out yet, but nothing crazy. I'm happy with it, and it matches the heads really nice. We tried it on, so it's gonna work fine. Once again, I mean, for the time spent, porting is like painting or detailing or cleaning is what we were talking about, and that no matter how much time you spend on it or what tools you have, there's always more tools to make it better. There's always more time that could be spent to make it nicer. So I'm happy with this. It's gonna make all the power that I wanted to make as is. If I was gonna do any more than this, I would have just sent it out and get it done professionally by somebody in comparison for the time versus cost. But it's good for doing it in the garage for how many hours we got in it? Maybe 4 to 6?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe 6 hours total, upper and lower.
Oh, I don't even know if it'd be that much.
Yeah, Dan says probably not even that many. So anyway, we are all set. We're gonna go pick up another car. We gotta move some cars and stuff around. But when we get back, we're gonna clean this intake manifold. You guys probably won't see it. Get it bolted to the car. Maybe I'll bring you an update on that. If not, we're gonna start the next video, which is gonna be a 2003 Cobra that used to have a ProCharger F1 on it, and the guy wasn't too happy with it. So clue in for that next one. But we will see you guys next time, and subscribe down below for the updates. We're trying to get every 2 days. That's the new goal. Every 2 days, new video. Every daily's too much. But we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.